Hello everyone, this is Brian Tonsoni with Delphi Bracketology. We are coming live, semi-live, we're taping this at the Sandwich Shop in downtown Delphi. We'd like to give a shout out to Pete Circle for allowing us to film here. We have our sports club and a guest selector here for you today. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Sammy Jacobs and Hoosier Huddle, for sponsoring us throughout the year. We haven't been with you for a while. Fall break kind of got in the way, but we are now ready to bring you championship football discussion from the best school bracketology in the land. We'll say that the special tonight here is chicken cordon bleu with some coleslaw, and as Mrs. Tonsoni, our lovely camera lady, she had like 4 cups of the tomato basil soup. So if you have a chance to come down to the Sandwich Shop, we advise that you do. We enjoyed our meal. So we're here to discuss the panel. They'll introduce themselves, and we're going to start off talking the SEC Championship, Alabama versus Florida, with Daniel Jakes.
Hello. Florida and Alabama, gritty SEC teams going at it. Florida, they've looked very sloppy the past couple weeks. They lost to Florida State 27-2. They were pushed to the limit by Florida Atlantic the week before in overtime. They've just looked sloppy. Look for them to pack the box against Derrick Henry. He had 46 carries against Auburn. But without him, Alabama doesn't have much. So here's Ty Schuler with the rest of that.
Who's up next?
What do you think of SEC?
Oh, SEC. I just think that probably Alabama's probably going to take this. Florida's just really hit the downhill skids towards the end of the year. They kind of, after they wrapped up their division of the SEC, they really haven't played very well. And so, Alabama's probably the key favorite in that game, as they should be. Here's Mr. Rickles with the next matchup.
All right, for the Pac-12, we have Stanford and USC. Stanford comes in this strong with just beating Notre Dame, just barely. Early in their season, they had already beat USC 41-31, although they did lose to Oregon early in the season. Stanford has beat Notre Dame and Washington, two teams that USC was not able to beat. Plus, Stanford is really going to be wanting it. They're looking for a very slim playoff spot, only if Alabama loses. Maybe they'll be able to knock out the SEC. Be looking for McCaffrey in this. He's got 1,640 yards so far in this season. He's leading the team in receptions, and he's got 3,000 all-purpose yards, which is, just an amazing record. USC comes in this. They just beat their rival UCLA. They have Cody Kessler, their QB, is very accurate. On both sides, the defense is really, they're really giving up some yards. Stanford is 50th in yards allowed, and USC is 70th. So we're looking for a very high-scoring game on both sides.
Thank you, Cole, and that was Cole Rickles with the Pac-12 Championship. We'd like to give a shout out to Kane Meyer. He was going to be next with the ACC, but being a basketball player, he took a shot to the head and has a concussion, and he is resting at home and filling in for Kane in the discussion of what I think is the closest championship, maybe not, Big Ten may be closer, but a really big game for the playoff is the ACC Championship between North Carolina and Clemson. Sorry, Jake Klauser is going to take this over, and here's Jake with the ACC.
For this game, we got North Carolina State and Clemson going at it. And
North Carolina, right?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay, I thought you said North Carolina State.
Oh.
My bad. Bloopers.
And Clemson's coming off with a win against conference champion Florida. Florida State, actually. Sorry about that. And they're going to come in with their quarterback, who's been doing very well this season. Hopefully they should be able to go right over North Carolina, but North Carolina has the opportunity to upset, and it's looking like a very promising game throughout this weekend when it comes time for game time.
Thanks, Jake. It's going to be a close game with a couple of offenses. We'll talk about the Final Four coming up in a little bit. And our last Big Ten last championship game to discuss is the Big Ten between Iowa and Michigan State, and for that analysis we have Ty Schuler.
This is probably one of the premier games of the week, I would assume. Both of these teams are evenly matched. They're coming from a great conference in the Big Ten. And this game's going to be a throwback to the 1950s style. Get out the old leather helmets and, the old leather pigskin ball, because this game's going to be won in the trenches. It's going to be up front. Which defensive line is going to outbeat the opposing offensive line? And with the running attack from Iowa, I mean, they're just looking to push you around all game long. They're going to grind it out for 60 minutes, and that's what it's going to take. I really think the key for Iowa in this game is that they're going to have to keep the score low. If this is a low-scoring game, they keep Michigan State under 14 points, I really think they're going to have a great chance to win. And on the flip side of that, Michigan State's going to want to get out and go. A lot of in the paper, they talk about respect for each other, but I think deep down in that locker room of Michigan State, I really don't think that they respect Iowa a lot. I don't really think they think that Iowa deserves to be there. And, coming from their locker room, they probably feel that they had a tougher schedule this year in the Big Ten. Rightfully so, maybe not. But, there's not going to be a lot of respect for Iowa. They might overlook them a little bit, but I doubt they will. But they're going to look to come out, and they got to get a fast start. If this game's in the 20s and 30s, I think Michigan State is probably the favorite to win that with their power attack. But, again, this is going to be a 60-minute battle. For the conference title. There's a lot on the line here, not only the Big Ten championship, but the winner's going to be playing, get one of those, probably the last Final Four spot to play for a championship. The loser, I think, has probably a good consolation prize of maybe the Rose Bowl. So either way, both of these teams are going to go bowling. I would just hope, I think Iowa's had a great year. I think it's been since 1922 that they have finished with an undefeated record. So, they're looking to cap their miracle season off with a conference win. And, again, this is going to be a nice throwback game, I think, to the power football running attack of the conference. And the Big Ten kind of hangs their hat on that, of power football. And so it's going to be a great game to watch. I think it's going to be the marquee game of the weekend. And it should be a real fun battle for both teams.
Okay, there you have it, the four major championship games. Quickly analyzed. I thank the panel. We're now going to bring in our guest selector, Vince Burpo. So, Vince, if you would come join us here at the table. You got the one applause from the camera lady. Very good. Everyone, this is Vince Burpo. He's a 7th grade social studies teacher, one of our finest teachers in the school corporation. He's also a well-known football coach, has coached in several different school communities and has been successful in coaching football, and we're privileged to have him as our guest selector. Vince, welcome.
Thanks a lot, Brian, for having me.
Our pleasure. I got a couple questions to ask before we get into your picks for the championship games. What makes a college football program successful from your vantage point as a high school coach, knowing these guys and being around programs? What do you think makes a football program successful?
Well, the first thing is I think tradition plays a big role in that. You go to some of these places and you watch some of these teams, and we talk about the same teams year after year after year, and that it's no secret to what's going on there. It's about tradition. Even when Alabama had their hard times, they would go back and say, we won the national championship 11 times, and so on and so forth. And I think that's one of the big things. And then recruiting is, who has the players. Sometimes you get lucky and you get a kid that's matures into something that you did not expect, or you recruit kids by chance, like Breeze was hurt his senior year in Texas, and all of a sudden he ends up at Purdue, and then the next thing you know, you look around and they've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys playing on that team that are playing pro football.
Right.
So, and I think nothing against Purdue now, but I think you'd be hard pressed to find someone that's going to play pro football on their team. And I think it's all about recruiting. I think those are the two big things. And, coaching's coaching. I've been enough places to see. I've been to Virginia Tech for spring practice. I've seen Purdue when Breeze was there in that group there, Matt Light, so on and so forth. And but I think recruiting's big. I think coaching's good for almost everybody, but I think it's about the players.
So as we are about to enter a Saturday where championships are on the line and the national championships on the line based on who gets into the Final Four, what are your keys on that Saturday when the ball is kicked off? What are the keys in your mind for these high-quality teams as they face each other to come out successful?
Well, the first thing is you better be ready to play and not underestimate anyone. And I don't think any of these teams will. I think they've played their entire season now. I think what they're really concerned about at this point is going to be turnovers, something stupid to determine the outcome of the game, like the Michigan State game. I mean, just something unbelievable. Or the Alabama game against Auburn with the kick six, something that's just you don't see or out of your control, or something that you practiced 100,000 times and then all of a sudden 100,001 and then it goes haywire. I think that's what you're concerned about, because each one of these teams now is in a situation where they're thinking the same thing, which is if we play the best we can, we cannot get beat.
Very good. And just an impromptu question, where's the best game atmosphere that you've attended for college?
Florida State. I mean, it is hands down Florida State. I went to see Florida State play Miami, and Chief Osceola rides out there on that horse and sticks that spear at the midfield. And it was a big rivalry game to begin with, but it's really neat, Florida State, because you walk down a kind of a semi-hill, and as far as you can see are just flags and tents, and it's just an unbelievable thing, and all the way around the stadium. So I think Florida State is hands down, and Notre Dame's a pretty good place to go to, but yeah, I think Florida State.
Florida State might have to be on my tailgate list, sounds like.
I would not miss it if I were you.
Very good. There you have some important things about college football and what kind of success you need in order to win these big games that are going to be played Saturday. Now we're going to make some picks. We have our fellow panelists in the background here. We're going to just pass the microphone real quick for these games, but we're going to start out with our famous guest selector with the SEC Championship. Vince, Alabama or Florida?
Well, I don't think Florida can win. I don't think they can score enough points. I think that once Will Greer was suspended for 1 year and they went to Trayon Harris, they have had no offense. Alabama's defense is pretty good, but there is a monkey wrench kind of thrown into this because Kirby Smart has taken the defensive coordinator, has taken the Georgia game, so what will he be concentrating on? So I don't think that Florida can score enough points. I think the game will be lower scoring than people think, but I cannot see Florida scoring more than 10 points on Alabama. So I think Alabama wins, and I think the score's going to be close, but the game's not going to be close.
Very good. Back here, Alabama, Florida.
I'd say Alabama, and I think they're just going to run up the score on Florida.
Alabama, Florida.
I hate to say it, but Bama's got the talent.
Okay, pass this over here. Jake's in the background. What do we got?
I'm going to have to agree with everybody and go with Alabama on this one.
I think this is going to end up being unanimous, but I think Bama's going to win in Atlanta.
Go ahead.
No, I wanted to say one more thing. I think Derrick Henry's going to win the Heisman Trophy. I saw him play live as a freshman at Kentucky. And when he walked onto the field and carried the ball like the first 5 times, I turned to my brother-in-law who we'd gone to the game with, and I said, that kid's going to win the Heisman Trophy someday. And that was a freshman third-string backup. The other thing, too, about Alabama is I want to throw this in is that they get Drake back this week. And he had a broken arm, and I think that hurt him against Auburn, and he'll be back this week. So that's another reason.
And I'm not going to go against the panel. I say Alabama. Let's go to the Pac-12 championship. Southern California versus Stanford. Vince, what do you think?
Well, it was mentioned before they got beat 41-31 the first game. I think USC has now named their coach Clay Helton. Take the interim tag off of him. They have played some really good football teams. I think one of the teams that they got beat by was 17-12 against Washington. It was a time when Washington was playing really, really well defensively. Offensively, USC had kind of stumbled up. The previous game, when they got beat 41-31, Kessler, the quarterback for USC, threw for 3 touchdowns. And I just have a feeling I'm going to pick USC. I think that they're going to come up with a plan. I think they're going to do something. I still have doubts about Stanford. They should not have won the game last week. You have to remember, I have a hard time dealing with Stanford getting into the playoff because of the situation. They got beat by Northwestern. I know Northwestern won 10 games, but they did not win either side of the league for the Big Ten. So Stanford would not have been playing in the championship of the Big Ten. So I pick USC.
Yeah, I think I think I'm going to kind of go out on a limb here. I think Stanford's going to be ready to play. I think they're going to come out. They see a championship on the line. I think they do understand, though, that they're not going to make it into the Final Four. I think that's long gone. But I think Stanford's offense with McCaffrey out there, I think he's going to put on a good show, and I think they're going to come up with a Pac-12 title.
I see this game being very high scoring. I see both offensive getting a large amount of yards. I see USC really coming out to fight for their new head coach, but Stanford's going to run up the score on them and shut them down.
As Cole said, Clay Helton's interim tag was dropped this week. USC's playing with a lot of emotion. I think they find a plan to bottle up Christian McCaffrey and get to Kevin Hogan. Go Trojans.
I think USC is going to come out with a lot of emotion, as Daniel said, and that's going to drive them on to beat Stanford in this one.
Okay, into our third championship game, we're going to go to the ACC Championship, where North Carolina is taking on the #1 team, Clemson. Vince, your thoughts?
I think that this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think that both defenses, Clemson's defense is kind of, I don't know if it's dwindled down. I think they're maybe a little tired. They've played a lot of people, only single people. They haven't played a lot of individual people like Alabama's been able to run people on and off the field, and they have not been able to do that, and I think they might be a little tired. I think the difference in the entire game for me is the quarterbacks. I think Deshaun Watson, I trust him more than I do Marquise Williams for North Carolina. I still have nightmares of looking at the very first game of the year when they got beat by South Carolina, and he threw two interceptions within the 10-yard line for North Carolina against South Carolina. I mean, we'd be speaking in an entire different situation if they would have beat South Carolina. But when you look, even the committee still has Florida State with 2 losses above North Carolina. They played 2 FCS teams. I think Clemson has played the better schedule. I think Clemson has the better players, though North Carolina has better players than people probably think. But I picked Clemson close in a high-scoring game because I trust the quarterback from Clemson more than I trust the quarterback from North Carolina.
I agree. I'm going to go with Clemson. I just think that they're a team of destiny this year, at least to get into the playoffs and run the table.
I definitely see Clemson winning, but it'd be nice to see an upset with North Carolina winning.
I think if you're a Michigan State fan, I think you're or Iowa fan, I think you're rooting for North Carolina to win because that's the only way that they may get in. But I think this is going to be Clemson all the way. I think Clemson. It's Clemson's game to lose. I think, and I think they're going to come out ready to play. They're going to be fired up, and they're going to get the win.
North Carolina. Battle of 2 great quarterbacks. Marquise Williams, very athletic for North Carolina, can do a lot of things. Deshaun Watson, he's a game changer in himself, I think. I think Clemson gets the dub, but it would be nice to see an upset happen.
As I said earlier, I'm going to just have to go with Clemson running the score up on North Carolina here, just for pure talent that they have. They're going to run up the score, but it'd be nice to see a comeback from North Carolina.
Okay, and to the game that all of us in the Midwest are looking forward to, the Big Ten Championship just down the road in Indianapolis, where game day will be in Pan Am Plaza. Giving a little bit of thought about maybe going and being creative with some signs. But Iowa versus Michigan State. Vince, your thoughts on the Big Ten Championship?
I think Michigan State will win the game. I think that Iowa's had a great season. I think Kirk Ferentz is a great coach. I don't care what happened last year and had the bad season. And he just Iowa's got a great program, total program. But Michigan State has a lot of players. They got a great defense. They're getting healthy. Connor Cook has had another week to get his shoulder healthy. I think that Michigan State is just better. I just think they're better. I think they're more tested. They should be undefeated. They could be, if they were undefeated, they could be the #1 team in the entire country now. After this point, their loss to Nebraska was a horrible loss, and I don't think the committee's going to hold that against them because, they did everything they were supposed to do.
Do you think their win at Michigan counters that, though, the last-minute punt return fluke? Does it counter that freakish loss to Nebraska?
That was a fluke.
The punter.
He didn't make the play.
Okay.
That's not Michigan State's fault. So,
And he's the coach. He's a football coach. I'm the basketball guy.
my point is, I mean, you got to play the whole 60 minutes, and even if it's over 60 minutes, but if, it's like, what if somebody missed a field goal, a chip shot field goal, and was in overtime, and your team hit one, and they missed one from 19 yards? I mean, then all of a sudden you say, well, he should, you know what I mean? So it's one of those situations of, I don't think they hold that against them. I don't think it's just a win against Michigan, who end up being a team that ended up being ranked, in the top 15. And but I think Michigan State will win the game. I don't think it'll be as close as people think. I think Michigan State's way better than Iowa. Iowa's had a great season, and they'll have a nice time at the bowl. It won't be the Rose Bowl, but they'll have a nice time at a bowl.
Okay, Kai.
I think I'm going to go out here. I'm going to say that Iowa's going to win this. I think they're playing real well right now. And the nice thing that you can see with Iowa, they can handle success. Coming off last year's season, it wasn't the best, and this year running 12-0. They're handling success very well. They're staying focused as a team, and that put that back on the coach. He's keeping everything in perspective for him. But I think they're going to come to Indianapolis. I think they're going to surprise Michigan State. I think they realize what's on the line here with a berth in the Final Four, and that's going to keep them fired up. That's going to keep them focused. And I'm going to pick Iowa here with the upset over Michigan State.
I'm going to have to go with Michigan State here. I think they're the better team all around, and I think they're going to come out and just run up the score on Iowa, and it should be a good game, but I see Michigan State coming away with the win.
For me, it's all about perspective from Michigan State, whether they come in respecting their opponent or they just come in thinking that they're due for a win. As an Ohio State fan, it kills me to say this, but I got the Spartans winning this one, and Indy.
Well, I love Iowa's style of play. As Schuler said over here, it's a throwback style of play, and I respect that, and I think that they're going to be able to beat Michigan State with that mouth football.
Okay, so there you have it. I'm going to go Michigan State. I think they are the better team, especially defensively, and Iowa's had a lot of close games and hasn't quite played the schedule that Michigan State has. That's our championship analysis and picks. We're grateful for you watching. Thanks to our panel. You can follow us at Delphi Brackets. We will be switching over to basketball in a couple weeks. Next week we will have a bowl special where we go over the bowl games and talk about some of the big games and the local matchups. I do want to give a shout out to my son Brent, who has joined us, and I have just one question to add. Brent, where is the bucket?
It is in Bloomington, where it belongs.
Okay, thank you, and that's his contribution for this show. Now you can sit down. Okay, thanks, Brent. But I really appreciate these young men who come out for the school club. I want to thank Ty Schuler, our part of our faculty, a really good friend, for helping us, and then also for Mr. Burpo for being our guest selector. It makes school real enjoyable when you deal with quality young men and quality old men. We'd like to give a thanks to Pete Circle and their staff for good delivery of food. And again, you ought to come check out the chicken cordon bleu special on tonight. It's open till 9. You won't see this, but tape delayed. So thank you to the Sandwich Shop. And we'd also like to thank Sammy Jacobs, again, our sponsor at Hoosier Huddle. This is Brian Tonsoni signing off for Delphi Bracketology Bowl game, not Bowl Championship Series, but Championship Weekend analysis. Thanks.